No? Well, I'll tell you, Art. I've been watching you with that kid a long time. You're demanding too much from him. Nobody can be perfect, so don't ride him so hard. When he does something you don't like, remember he's a person in his own right.
Okay.
That's really nice.
Bobbi, can we go to garden? Yeah. Bobbi, I need to go to garden.
Against Malone, pass is deflected, going to be stolen, I think, by the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. We rock the baby to sleep and slam dunk. And yet another Laker turnover. Worthy threw it away, and the doctor made a sensational play.
Not only the slam, which he just cuffed in his hand.
I think having a promising sports career is something most of us dream of. The idea of making millions playing a sport you love is something only few can really achieve in this lifetime. To those that make that dream come true, they may end up spending a few years in the league, while others may be 10 or 15 years if their body holds up. But what about when you're going on 21 plus years, still keeping the same kind of production? In the music industry, you can see some similarities. Maybe some artists make it to 5 or 10 years if they're lucky, and continually provide meaning, depth, and trust to their music, while others may burn out for a quick 15 minutes of fame making service level music for whatever's popular and trending at the moment. Those whose music careers live to see beyond that 5 or 10 year mark prove to their fan bases that their music has had a long-lasting impact with how they've connected with their listeners. And for someone like Lecrae, that has definitely been the story throughout his career. For someone who's made it their sole mission to show the eternal value of following Christ through hip-hop, Lecrae, along with many other artists, have shown that it is definitely possible to make a living by impacting countless souls. From ministering in prisons to touring across the world, Lecrae's pretty much done it all. Though, like every great music career, someone has to eventually pass the torch along. Lecrae's massive blow-up during those late 2000s to early 2010s is something that ought not to be taken for granted, as it would be a gateway for a lot of us listening to Christian hip-hop right now. But eventually, a new school of artists are bound to arise one day. Being the face or name brand of Christian hip-hop is something that can only go on for so long. And while the impact and difference made is eternal, a new face or faces begin to emerge.
What is up, guys? This video has been a long time coming, but we are officially back. Welcome back to the channel. Before the actual video starts playing, I just kind of wanted to prep you guys and intro you guys to a few key notes and points that I wanted to make that you guys should know before watching the video. Several things is that number one, this video has been such a long time coming in terms of like the production and the idea of it. It took me like, I'd say 2 months to make, but in actuality, this video idea started way back in September, like late September. I was just, at the time, I was just trying to put anything out there because I started getting like a load of creativity and video ideas to make again. And at the time, it was just gonna be a little yap fest. I was just gonna sit down, record, and just put it out there and just say whatever's on my mind. But to be honest, when I was in post-production, I realized that this video idea deserved a lot more of my attention than I realized. And I realized that there was a lot more that could be carved out from this video idea, and like a lot more ideas and concepts that could be fleshed out way better. So what actually happened is I just put it down. You know, I was focused on school and just like a boatload of other things. But when I finally had the chance to get around to this video idea, I decided to pick it up again and really do it its justice and really take my time with this. So I really hope you guys do enjoy this video. Another thing too to bring up is that while I was making this video idea, I realized that I actually wasn't the first one to arrive to this video idea. Similarly enough, Bars and Beats, who, if you guys know, I mean, like, he's probably one of the biggest, I mean, if you're around CHH, you know this guy's in like every corner and comment section and just every crevice of CHH. And I mean, like, he's like, I'd say probably the biggest supporter I've seen of CHH in the last while. But you guys should actually go watch his video because he actually did a similar video idea, except his was, I think it was 7 artists that could be the next Lecrae. So I'll link that below in the description. But you guys should definitely watch his stuff as well. It's pretty good. And also as well, like, I didn't want people getting the idea that I was like, I don't know, copying somebody else's video idea or anything like that. So I kind of just wanted to, you know, bring him up and shout out his video. So I mean, like, you know, before you start this video or after you start this video, definitely go watch his video as well for that. Now 3, when it comes to this video idea, just generally, I think when it comes to Lecrae and just like his influence and everything like that, I mean, like for a lot of people in modern CHH right now, people kind of reference back to Lecrae as like their first starting point or entry into CHH kind of, or at some point just like being a big staple up there, right? And this video idea was pretty interesting to just like entertain and just like slowly and gradually make, just because Lecrae's been at the top for such a long time. He's been the face brand of CHH. I mean, if you talk to any church staff, pastor, or even just non-Christian, the first thing that comes to mind when they think Christian hip hop is Lecrae. But then the idea does beg to differ, which is like at some point, Lecrae can't be, you know, the face and name brand forever, right? Artists generally in hip hop, I mean, like they don't really have like there's no retirement age specifically in hip hop, but at some point, artists do gracefully age out as a new batch of younger and hot artists come in. And that's certainly not to say that Lecrae in his own right still isn't making amazing music. I mean, like CC4, guys, like I think like he dropped that like 2 years ago. CC4 recently won a Grammy, I believe, but CC4, that's probably for a mixtape. Like I don't even think it was supposed to be an album, but for a mixtape, I mean, like it blew everyone's expectations out of the water. So Lecrae, he's always gonna make amazing music. We can't forget that. But this video idea came more out of just the curiosity that like, man, like who would hypothetically just be someone who could fill Lecrae's shoes or exceed those expectations. Also as well, when you do watch the video, I want to make sure you guys understand that I don't want you guys to get the impression that like I'm trying to like center this around Lecrae as if he's this person who jump-started Christian hip-hop and like when Lecrae was born, that's when Christian hip-hop was born. That certainly isn't the case, so understand that there are artists that have come before him that have made Christian hip-hop as to where it is today. So whether if it's just people who grew up with him like Show Baraka, Trip Lee, different people along the way, the whole cross movement era as well, that was like a little bit just before Lecrae's time, and Tunnel Rats as well. I mean, like those were the people who, from what I can find and date back to the most, really kicked off Christian hip hop. But there's definitely been people who have been doing this for a long time, so it's not like Lecrae is like the person who like started the inception of Christian hip hop or anything like that. But for sure, his blow up in that late 2000s, like 2008, 2009 to like early 2010, definitely brought and raised Christian hip hop to a whole new level. Also as well, when it comes to like the basketball references you guys saw at the beginning of the video, I thought it was interesting just because just in general, like hip hop and basketball are so synonymous, whether if it's like seeing rappers at like all-star games or just being around basketball players, or just like, you know, basketball players just wanted to be around the studio with rappers or just hanging out with them or whatever. Traditionally, like hip hop and basketball have always been synonymous, whether if it's like cross culture through like sneakers, jerseys, just a lot of different like representations and all that stuff. But I thought it'd be interesting to bring up, especially with LeBron. I mean, like LeBron and Lecrae are similar in the sense that like their level of production and their longevity is what's kept them going for such a long time, and to be able to create and make great music. So for Lecrae to still be going strong in 2024 and LeBron to still be putting up like crazy numbers at his age, because people generally at his age, they'd be falling off and putting up like a measly like 7 points a game. But for this guy, it's amazing to see that. Also, I mean, like LeBron, Lecrae, I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the name fits, the name matches, right? It's meant to be. Also as well, as much as I made this video out of entertaining the idea of like finding someone who's gonna be the next Lecrae or someone who's gonna carry CHH and everything, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna just outright state my antithesis right now from the jump and say that in my personal opinion, not from the video I made, but in my own personal opinion, I don't really think CHH really needs a face name brand per se, just because CHH has gotten to a point where everything is spread out now. Like the playing field is level and you can make music independently, you can sign to a label. I mean, like 10 years ago, I mean, I guess the goal for most artists was to sign to a Reach, because Reach was really the only big record label out there on the market. But now the playing field's leveled out to where if artists want, you know, they have the option to sign to a Capitol Records or other record labels that have Christian hip hop divisions. People are out here starting their own record labels, or people are just simply going independent, right? There's plenty of options out there to where it's kind of like Lecrae doesn't have to be the guy to do it all at the top, just because for the longest time, especially being the face name brand, I mean, he doesn't face it back as much now, but back when he was the only person being the face name of the brand, I mean, like there was a lot to deal with. I mean, so if anyone remembers that like 2011 to I want to say 2014 like period era where like he had to deal with a lot of Illuminati accusations and this is a square, but the Like, he had to deal with a lot of that, and people to this day almost still believe that he's still somehow part of the Illuminati, man. There was also that 2015 to I want to say 2020 period era where that whole social justice arc where Lecrae was really pushing the boundary and question of like, is it okay for a Christian artist to talk and speak on like social commentary from a Christian lens? And it was like, he was basically dogged and demonized for that, right? And it just came with so many things where it kind of led me to the point and conclusion that like, I don't think Christian hip hop really needs that, to be honest, to move and push forward. It would certainly help a lot to have like a face to reference to. But real honestly, I think the way it is right now, it's doing well, it's thriving, and there's just so many artists out there. Also, I mean, this video, like, these are just my opinion, guys. So, I mean, like, take it with a grain of salt, if you will, I guess. But yeah, these are just my opinions. And I mean, like, if your favorite artist isn't on here, I mean, again, this video is just going to be me just building my case for the artists I picked and everything like that. So obviously people will have their own list as well to make. And also, I also wanted to bring that up as well, just because I understand while making this video, I realized that there are actually a lot of people that have contributed to the success of where CHH is at, and also to the success of other artists. So it's not like the artists I bring up, it's not like they were solely the ones that were innovative at every single thing. Certainly artists along the way have helped them and given them a good hand and assist them to where they're at now. And they're also behind like some of your favorite moments and like your favorite songs in CHH. So, you know, let's definitely not get that twisted. And, you know, I just definitely wanted to bring that up. And then lastly, before we finally start off, I will have a list of honorable mentions at some point in the video. So we'll take a quick pit stop and I'll just quickly shoot at artists that I definitely considered over time while I was scripting and making this video. But I just realized like maybe there's like something missing there. Or there's something like they're doing well, but there's definitely another level they can hit for sure. But I'll definitely mention that along the way. So, but other than that, guys, let's just start strong and get right into our first artist. Man, what was that power button again? All right, found it. Here it is.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. At the tone, please record your message.
2 beats till I'm out,
Yeah. Only master that I have was risen then ascended. Risen then ascended. Made a promise to my baby that I'll never raise my voice. That I'll never raise my voice.
Now, Nobigdyl is someone who's been an interesting pick as someone to come after Lecrae for a particular set of reasons. Dill early on was someone that rose up the chain of breaking out as an artist and doing what a lot of artists first did when they first started out, and that is just to gain listeners and build an audience. You know, pretty straightforward. Though over time, we've seen that Dill has gone beyond that threshold and box, and he's essentially grown into wearing different hats and roles in the space to the point that his contributions has basically carved a whole new lane and avenue for artists. And a quick disclaimer, everything I'm about to mention here wasn't obviously curated by Dill himself. There were other hands involved in the vision and process of building up what we're witnessing right now in CHH, but I'm just more so talking about what his own contributions has meant to the space of Christian hip-hop and how it's affected the space today. Dill has definitely been one of the biggest voices and advocates for independent music, and pushing that particular space forward, him and a collection of other artists have come along and shown younger artists that it's possible to make an impact and really make a living off making independent Christian hip-hop without having to rely solely on the help and marketing of a record label. Signing to a Reach or a Capitol would be great for a smaller artist, but artists today now have more of a blueprint and resource to make it out on their own. And then adding on to this entire indie theme, you have the fact too that he was one of the founding creators of Indie Tribe, with which him and Mowgli were able to pick up some of the biggest names today around Christian hip-hop and go on to make some of the best music we've ever seen. I think building Indie Tribe led to a lot of music infrastructure that we would not only listen to, but also experience, as we would be introduced to the conception of Smokefest, which prior to that, there's definitely been Christian hip-hop related events going around, don't get me wrong, but not something to where we're seeing CHH-oriented music festivals. And let me be specific, I'm talking about summer music festivals. His involvement with Smokefest showed us that there was a boom and dying need for summer music festivals in the Christian hip-hop space, especially coming out of COVID. You know, people really wanted to be outside. And so as a result of one CHH summer festival, now we're seeing a growing circuit of summer festivals lined up, such as Sierra Fest, Glow Fest, and more on the way. I think his time and effort into putting on these festivals has really created an infrastructure in person for artists to connect and network, while also giving us, the listener, a whole lot of value out of being able to fly in or drive down just to be able to see all of your favorite artists perform in one spot for the weekend. And I'm going to reiterate again that I'm not saying that his involvement put him alone at the forefront of everything he's contributed to, but rather it's the fact that I don't think his contributions to the space can be ignored when we're talking about artists that have been a part of changing and shifting how we're listening and experiencing Christian music today. Other artists are definitely worth highlighting and vouching for, but Nobigdyl for me is someone who I'd say stands out. Lastly, to touch on the music side of things, there's just the fact that I'd say he's had one of the more influential runs in CHH the last few years, with some hit songs like King Jesus Part 1, which then led to King Jesus Part 2 with KB. Those songs were constantly hitting #1 on the radio the last few years, putting out many big projects over the years, particularly his most well-rounded project, in my opinion, the Lowercase tape, a tape that really defined Nobigdyl's creative identity today and allowed him to set the stage and narrative to really talk about his life experiences, Southern identity growing up, his love for going independent, and tying it back to what God was doing in his life throughout that time. It's definitely a project I think a lot of people go back to with memorable features, and also a project that has had a lot of people asking for when his next project could be. Because after all, in the span of 5 years, and yes, literally 5 years, he's been involved in dropping 14 singles, more features than I can count because I lost count after 30, and collaborating on Uppercase and Low Blow. And seeing a solo project from him is definitely what the people have been asking about, but understandably, the likelihood of running 3 Smokefests, him and Mowgli rebooting and collaborating with Indie Tribe, touring on the road domestically and internationally last year, and the list goes on, has likely been the reason why we haven't heard Dyl drop a solo story/project in such a long time. It's that, and planning and releasing an album is financially and strategically different than it was 5 or 10 years ago. Overall though, if I were to list my reasons for Nobigdyl to be the next person in line to hypothetically replace Lecrae, including now being part of a recent Grammy Award-winning collaboration on CC4, then this is definitely it. When you take a quick look into how Hulvey first came up, or really any small artist for that matter, it's always interesting seeing how an artist first starts out and the leap of faith that they decide to take early on. Hulvey's story is something out of an early 2000s movie plot. Just a kid chasing the American dream, leaving your hometown at 19 to move to the big city of Atlanta, making ends meet at a grocery store while trying to find your way into a record deal through small yet potential connections, waiting for your opportunity to catch the attention of some artist or label executive. This is something many would have tried and likely failed at. But when someone like Ace Harris, who's in charge of A&R, finally gives you that chance, it can drastically open new doors if you just play your cards out right. Hulvey already had a decent following when Ace first signed him to Reach Records back in 2020, putting out pretty decent music at that time. I would say his Broken Heart EP was probably some of the best music I had heard from him back then. He wasn't known too well yet to Christian listeners despite being signed, but that was because the work was just beginning for him. Ace wasn't too sure if he should have taken a chance on the Georgia native, as they had been going back and forth by email and meeting in person here and there, but the two had sparked enough of a relation for Ace to see the vision and take a chance on Hulvey early on. And the project that would confirm Ace's decision and fulfill his vision was Hulvey's first album titled Christopher. This was an album that really pushed Hulvey into the spotlight of not only the mainstream CHH space, but also the mainstream CCM space. 10 years ago, the craze and excitement at youth groups or conferences was to hear Lecrae, Trip Lee, or some other member of 116 perform. But now the youth or staff at those churches today are excited to hear new faces and names like Hulvey. At the budding age of 21, Christopher had accomplished to sign to Reach Records and finally make a living off telling others about the everlasting impact that Christ had made in his life. So you would think that it wouldn't get any better than this, right? Going into the 4th year of his record deal, Hulvey unconsciously tapped into 2 big feats that really helped his presence and visibility within the Christian music space. A, his massive collaboration with Forrest Frank that pushed a giant wave of online reception and viral content engagement between the two fan bases, with highly requested songs like No Longer Bound and Altar. And B, his massive run throughout 2023, including concert favorites like Walk featuring Lecrae, Love Like That with Alex Jean and Toy Deshawn, Used by You, and the list goes on. The most amazing part about all this though was how it unintentionally tied into opening up a portal of hunger for worship within hip-hop. For the longest time, people thought that it was just impossible to worship God through this genre. And yet, here came Hulvey, someone who came along and not only showed that it was possible to infuse hip-hop songs within worship, but also someone that has put an entire generation of youth on board with this style and approach to the genre. The thought at these concerts sometimes was that there really wasn't much of a worship aspect, even though CHH artists have always aimed to make God-honoring music. Listeners still wanted to add a bigger element of worship at these events, and Hulvey had answered that calling. He is definitely not the first of his kind to pull this off, but in 2024, he's definitely ingrained enough of this style and execution into hip-hop to where he is arguably at the forefront of potentially expanding a whole new space and meta within Christian hip-hop.
Literally just hit your points, knock them out. All right, man. So before we get to the last artist for this video, I quickly just wanted to talk about the honorable mentions for making this video. There were a lot of things to consider when it came to like the artists that I picked for this video and whom I selected. And obviously there's only certain artists I can pick because, you know, I'm pretty long-winded. I could go on for hours talking about these artists. I mean, like, this is literally my 5th take trying to record this section of the video alone, just because one artist alone took me like 10-15 minutes to get through, and I have to condense that in like 1 to 2 minutes, right? The point is like, there are so many artists out there you can only pick to highlight, you know, for this video, right? But I still wanted to mention these artists because I do believe they are successful in their own right. They have it all. Like, they're right there. I just think like there's definitely another gear and level they can hit and get to and all that stuff. So I just wanted to like condense this section of the video, fire off on my points, mention each artist, hopefully in less than a minute, and kind of just like try and get to each artist, what I think of them and where I think they can get to. So let's go. Okay, so one day from working up the ranks as an intern to signing at Reach, she's definitely been quite successful in her own right, not only as one of the premier female artists around the space, but more so as someone who's been able to find success tapping into her marketing and entrepreneurial side. They're definitely some of the strongest features that make her a well-rounded artist, and everything from interacting with her fan base through her Wing Gang series to offering free Bible study resources, offering makeup products or services like artist consulting, have basically shown that she does an exceptional job at making her traits and personality a big extension of her brand. And I mean, at one point even partnering with Shopify on a massively successful marketing campaign. Like, those ads used to be everywhere on Facebook. Though the only thing I'd say, because there's really only so much you can squeeze in like a minute, is that I kind of see Wande in the same tier of female artists in hip-hop generally that are successful in their own right, but when it comes to scaling up to someone like a Nicki Minaj, who people view as a top 15 to top 10 rapper objectively, like, can they close that gap? Because usually a lot of modern female artists are kind of in this gap where they've reaped success by tapping into a naturally female audience, but can they tap into music that guys can see themselves being more a part of? Just because the biggest artists that have gone beyond in hip-hop are usually the artists that have been able to market their music into different streams of demographics, and Nicki to a certain extent has been able to do this as well. You know, she aesthetically gravitates naturally to the female aesthetic and content, but
Her sharp pen and aggressive wordplay has always drawn people in, both males and females. And I'm not saying that this is something one day would have to do or emulate, obviously, as a Christian artist, nor is this a concern of mine, as she's always done well to her credit. But it's definitely more of a curiosity I have at times about asking myself, like, are there more ways that she can stream and diversify her music branding? Is this something that she can test and explore more, or is she just better off leaving this stone unturned? It sounds like she doesn't have the backing of male followers either, but it is the question sometimes of, is this something that she can sharpen, expand, and cover more ground with in terms of the progress that she's made so far? Alright, now Caleb Gordon, I'd say that for someone that's being able to utilize the power of TikTok and short form content, just generally, I'd say that he was pretty much at the forefront of those artists that benefited massively from accessing these platforms and finding the right formula for success on these apps. I mean, with recent blowups like Rocky Road 2 with Alana Wadon, that was a song that found its way into Super Bowl ads at one point, big blowups on songs like West Orlando Flow 2 years ago, and just a barrage of recent hits like Yesterday's Gone. I mean, he's just been on the money when it comes to putting out great music releases and mastering self-promotion altogether on TikTok. The only thing I'd say though is that while he's killing it crazy early on, I'm not gonna lie, it does feel like he just got here as establishing himself as a young, thriving artist. Kind of like a Tyrese Maxey for any NBA heads out there. He's really good. He'll give you 50 here and there. Pretty much an all-star. It's just, the potential is there. It's already taking off, but it does feel like he just got here, and I'd say that there's definitely more out there for him. It's that, and I'd give it a good 2 years before he really goes into his prime years and really exceeds his accomplishments that he's made up to this point. Alex Jean and Scooty Wap, it's really hard to keep an honorable mentions to like 5 people, so I'm gonna put these 2 artists together just because they have similar trajectories and features when it comes to being an artist. One thing I hate is that I see a lot of artists claim to be versatile, but there's a big difference between being able to do everything and doing everything well. Just because versatile or blend of genres is a word I see thrown often in a lot of artist profiles, but for Scooty Wap, that's definitely not the case, as he's somebody that's been able to dip his hand into a lot of blends of music from what we've seen so far, such as southern crunk, traditional, blends of gospel, and even some blends as far as reggae. And it's not the fact that he's able to produce all this music, but it's the fact that he hits a wide variety of sounds at an above average to high level, and he's very creative at it too. Overall, I don't hear his name talked about enough, but he's definitely an artist that I wanted to mention. And same thing goes to Alex Jean, just someone who, this kid blew up, I think literally off of a TikTok snippet of him just playing like a rock song, and it was kind of different for people to see that, just a Haitian kid from Florida picking up a guitar and just making a rock song about God. But he took people for a ride with just not only that, but just showing off features of just other aspects of his music. So that Pop Smoke sound that he throws into his mix and music, just the fact that he has different pockets and just features overall to just highlight in his music. And recently I think he released a snippet of a song that he sampled with Thames, and I don't know if that will ever be proved or not, but Alex Jean is definitely another artist like Scooty Wap in a similar fashion. He's versatile in his own right, but he does it very well. But yeah, honestly, I'd say for the both of them, I won't even lie, they're kind of in the same boat as Caleb Gordon, I'd say. So unfortunately, they're still young, but they do have their years ahead of them. Give it 1 to 2 years, and I'd say they're probably gonna make not only the best music of their careers, but probably something that could go beyond Christian hip-hop and really break into the masses. Now KB, I don't know why, but at some point I was asking myself why I didn't swap KB out for another main artist featured on this video, just because he's always been mentioned in any commentary or conversation online. When people ask for new artists to listen to, KB is usually a recommendation followed after saying Lecrae or something like that, and certainly he's given us amazing music throughout the years, though the only reason I swapped him out was because I realized that when I was making this video, I realized that I was essentially looking at artists in their early 30s or under to fit this criteria of making this video. And KB started out making music at an early age and has been making music for the longest time, but at some point it's a matter of just looking at younger artists who still have their years ahead of them and seeing what the future of CHH is going to look like in the next 10 to 15 years. He's definitely going strong well into his career with his music, but at some point it's just a matter of looking into the people who are currently in his position when he first started out in music and seeing where they're gonna end up themselves. Okay, lastly, before I move on to the last artist, I wanted to squeeze John Keith in here, really because I've really exceeded my recording time, but I wanted to add John Keith as well. He's definitely an artist who I think is revamping and redefining the way people approach Christian hip-hop as well, especially last year with that whole, I can't remember what it was, I think it was Eremos.
That whole album was just redefining how to talk about just like mental health and just like different things of that nature and how Christians view it. It was beautiful to see. So seeing things like that, and I mean, someone who kind of like went under Ruslan's wing during that King's Dream Entertainment era to kind of like being solo to jumping on the indie tribe. I mean, like he's done pretty well for himself, and he's kind of like definitely at the forefront right there with the artists that are kind of like just redefining how we see CHH. But I definitely wanted to mention John Keith in this bit. And yeah, now looking back, when it comes to like the different types of contributions and things people bring to the table around CHH, I mean, there's just so many things, right? I believe there's so many criteria even outside of this video that I could have had the chance to cover. But when it came to Nobigdyl and Hulvey's own contributions outright, I think their own contributions like spoke out the most to me, and have shown that they've been able to carve their own lane outright. And so we've covered infrastructure, we've covered worship, but what about culture? The last pick for this video may or may not surprise you, but I think this artist has built one of the strongest cases for why they could be the next person to hypothetically be the next Lecrae.
The possibilities are endless.
You need to lighten up.
He still has a heart.
Projector. There's the CD spinning.
Action! Danger!
Miles. Y'all point your hands this way to Miles. Because God just said he put miles on Miles.
Miles Minnick 45 minutes ago, we knew that Miles Minnick.
Hey, Mr. Miles Minnick, and Miles Minnick is being harassed by Coachella as they are.
Miles, what's up, man? Hey, listen, man, y'all be snapping, bro. I'm just a fan of your work, putting on for the West Coast.
Let people serve God the way they are wired to serve God.
Dare you try to bash me for this?
There's protesters outside.
How could the same culture make fun of this, right?
Me being sober and me being faithful to my wife.
Because God just said he put miles on Miles.
Now, a big criteria to making this video was to consider what every artist was bringing to the table and contributing around CHH. Making great music alone is not enough. There are plenty of artists outside of this video that were worth considering, but I believe that the third artist that stood out to me the most was Miles Minnick. I remember when I first heard about him on a feature with Joey Vantes back in 2020, and at the time, I didn't hear too many West Coast references or shoutouts in CHH outside of Joey Vantes. But Miles came in and showed not only that he was willing to step up to the plate and represent the West Coast, but that he wanted to show that there was a whole movement and revival happening out there. You see, for the longest time, I've found that CHH's sound was predominantly represented by either artists from the South or East Coast respectively. I think that Miles has come along over the last 2 or 3 years and sparked not only a movement sonically and spiritually, but also something culturally. I think that the way Miles has always garnered success through his organic reach is something that has helped him expose a whole culture of Christian music around the West Coast. Everything along with his hit songs like Sober, Show Out, Big with Lecrae, and Christ-like have always been accompanied by some kind of crazy organic online engagement. And I mean like numbers that would be pretty hard for an independent artist to hit consistently on their own. Another aspect too that has helped him grow that culture too is that he's been killing crazy numbers on Instagram Reels with just how outspoken and volatile he is. One day he's making a song speaking out against anti-Christian trends, calling out the world, and then the next thing you know, he's calling out Christians that are against his efforts to organize Christian hip-hop events around his community. I see that his personality and brand go well together with his music, and he's shown that his mission and music go way beyond just an area of the country. In different instances, he showed it on his holographic album with how his sound and music content is more than just an appeal for the West Coast identity. He showed it on garnering enough success to be featured on the Bible app for daily devotions. He showed it by organizing Glowfest and showing that people are truly enthused and interested in Christian music out there. And he's shown that it's all been done by being organic. And when I'm throwing this word organic around, I'm not saying that artists aren't getting a genuine engagement online. but I'm just referring to the fact that I don't think I've ever seen anyone else with this type of impact and numbers for just how small of a scale he's been operating on, especially as an independent artist. It's great to see his impact around the West and beyond, whether if it's just through serving his community, seeing him perform at Major League Baseball stadiums, or just redefining a new way of approaching and listening to Christian music. I'm definitely excited for his new album that he's been quietly announcing soon, and I definitely see Miles establishing himself as a third hypothetical as someone who would possibly replace Lecrae in the future.
So music, I'm gonna start a record label within the next few years. I see myself being the next Lecrae. I don't see me just being an artist that fizzles away based on what I have in my heart and what the Lord has revealed to me.
All right, now one more thing I wanted to add to this bit about Miles Minnick. I know early on I said that there weren't too many people before him that were really giving a presence to the West Coast and really constantly shouting it out and just giving reference to it. And I was saying that CHH predominantly it's lended an ear mostly towards Southern sound and influence and the whole East Coast scene. But I think it's disingenuous of me to not also mention artists throughout the years that have been making music out there in the West Coast. So whether if it's V Rose, the DreamJunkies, so everyone from Ruslan, John Gives, The Believe, Tunnel Rats, I believe. There are definitely artists over the years that have put on for the West Coast. It's just that Miles gave a unique twist and experience and perspective of it. But yeah, guys, man, this video was probably almost 2 months in the making. I'm glad that you can make it to the very end of this video. And I just wanted to thank you guys. I really do. This is something I really didn't have much of a heart for making video essays like this, but lately with just the amount of ideas I've been inspired to make, video essays are something that I kind of slowly want to reintroduce back little by little, just whenever I kind of get a big idea thrown out there that just comes to mind. But yeah, guys, and yeah, everything here, I mean, it's really just my own opinion. Anyone can easily construct and form their own argument for why they would have their 3 artists for the hypothetical person to replace Lecrae. But at the end of the day, it's all fun, it's all banter, and it's really more so just to entertain the idea of it. Like I said at the very start of the video, I think CHH is pretty good where it's at and how it's moving forward. So yeah.
Now, other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where we're posting shorts that sometimes don't make it onto YouTube. I'm trying to post more consistently there while saving bigger and more giant video ideas that might take longer to make here on YouTube. So make sure you follow the page. But other than that, until then, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.
Okay, Warren. Hold up. So I made this?